we're going to look at John Danaher's closed guard system. I think the last time I taught closed guard in here, there's probably only one guy here, it's been maybe 4 years. So again, I like teaching in systems. I think it's the best way to learn. There's so much, when you're doing jiu-jitsu is indecision. You're not too sure what path you should be going on. You maybe know certain techniques and you don't know when to apply them. So sometimes it's good to have a path to go down and a system to go down. There's a few newbies here tonight, and I'm not too sure what your background is, but let's just talk about what is closed guard. I mean, if I'm in the mount, which is probably the second most dominant position in jiu-jitsu, I mean, it's fair enough I'm on top, yeah. My upper body's on top of Carl's, and my lower body. My head and shoulders is on top of Carl, and my hips and legs on top of Carl. But if I'm inside this closed guard, am I on top? Yeah, I'm on top. Looks as if I'm on top, yeah. My upper body is on top of Carl's. But Carl's lower body is on top of mine. So we're going to be thinking about this top hip principle. We're going to be going back to this the whole way through this mesocycle. Even though it looks as if I'm on top, Carl's hips are on top of mine, and this is going to give him a massive advantage of breaking my posture and breaking my balance and base, if that makes sense. So we're going to look at, we're going to talk a little bit about concepts first. You're not going to need to remember all this. Danaher breaks his closed guard system into 6 vulnerabilities, whereby there's 6 positions I want to get the guy in my closed guard, and then I can attack him, if that makes sense. Those 6 vulnerabilities we're going to split up over the next 12 weeks. We're going to be addressing the first vulnerability tomorrow night, or Thursday night, which is the side scissor position, and it will be a good chunk of the mesocycle because it's probably the best position for closed guard to get into. The other ones we will address as well, but they're maybe just not as important. But the scissor, the closed guard scissor is king. But we'll quickly give you an overview of what the 6 vulnerabilities are, but don't be trying to memorize it. Okay? So let's just say Carl is inside my closed guard. From here, we're going to concentrate tonight on breaking posture and breaking balance. But when Carl makes his grips on me and I break him down, the first vulnerability is getting this arm past the center line. So I want his elbow past my center line, and then I get angular advantage by moving my hips out, and I'm in this side scissor position. Now this is going to give me a lot of gain as in coming up, taking his back, possibly sweeping him this way, up. That's our first vulnerability. We'll be starting to do that on Thursday night. The second vulnerability is possibly as I'm trying to get this arm across the center line, I can't, so I'm going to bring it the other way and actually put Carl's hand on the mat. If I can get a hand on the mat and get inside control, I'm switching from closed guard to clamp guard. And again, this is putting Carl in a lot of vulnerable positions where they can start to do stuff on him. So, the first one is getting his arm across, the side scissor. The second one is getting his hand on the mat and getting into clamp guard. The third thing I can be thinking about is when I break his posture and get him chest to chest, I can get inside wrist position, where I want my wrist above Carl's. I think some of you guys have been training me, I've showed you this. Whereas if I just have his wrist grip normal, Carl can come inside, whereas I want my wrist above Carl's wrist and a 90-degree bend in the wrist. Hard for him to get his wrist back, and now from this position I can get angular advantage, start to get into these positions. Fourth vulnerability when he's on his knees is the 45 inside or the top lock position. Whereby I want to get my closed guard on the shoulders. If you see where my closed guard is, I'm at the end of the lever. My legs are wrapped around his tailbone. Think of the spine as a massive lever. My guard is at the lowest end of the lever, where I really want my guard up here. Well, how do I get my guard up here when he's posturing? And his elbows are outside my hips. So I'm going to get a cross grip. My other hand, cross grip power, will find the sleeve. And now I'm going to pull Carl's head down to 45 degrees. Think of 90 degrees, 0 degrees, 45. And when I pull this inside, I can physically climb into the top lock. Okay? From there, it's easy. Hit me. We want to try and play close guard and keep our opponent on their knees. Why? Because there's 4 vulnerable positions when he's on his knees. Okay? The other 2 stems from when he stands. And his goal will be to stand. We'll address that in a second. So let's just say, I'm playing close guard, Carl makes his grips. His goal is to stand up and pass my guard. Then maybe I couldn't keep him down. I'm sure you know how to do that. So again, when he stands up, the 5th vulnerability is keeping Carl's head below his hips. Anytime I can do that, okay, I can possibly walk and get into a top lock again. Then I have the arm bar, or I have sweeps and things that I can do from here. And the 6th vulnerability is this time he gets vertical posture. And I haven't kept us into those. We'll be showing you certain sweeps that I can do from that position. Just taking it back a step, draw some bottom. I know this is a lot of waffle, but if you watch the vids later, it'll make a little bit more sense. So, it stems from Carl's advantage. He wants to keep me on my knees because there's 4 vulnerabilities. Whereas when I stand, there's only 2. But we want to be, and this whole mesocycle will be based on close guard bottom from what Carl's position, not from my position. But let's just give you a little overview of what should be happening here. You know, Carl's a lot more dynamic than my position. There's not too much things I can do from this position inside Carl's close guard. Only open his legs. If I can get his legs open and get past his guard, I have a game. So what's my goal? I'll probably be on my knees. Okay. Then I'll come up with 1 foot. Then I come up to the 2nd foot and bent over, and then I want vertical posture. Once I start to push, now I can make grips, and now I can work my pass. So if we're aware of the steps that Carl has to go through, it will make our job playing close guard a lot easier, and we know what path. We want to focus tonight on breaking posture and off balancing people, because those are the important parts of the close guard system. This is why Dungannon system is so different from everyone else's. I mean, you can go onto YouTube and you'll see, you know, someone will be demonstrating how to armbar someone from the close guard, or how to triangle someone from the close guard. Then you go to try to do the sparring, and it doesn't work. Why? Because they're resisting. So how do we do this stuff when they're actually not letting you do it? And this is what we want to focus on tonight. The 2 main skills we want to develop, and we're going to do 2 drills, is breaking posture and off balancing. But I can do all that. I can break someone's posture from inside the close guard and off balance them. I'm going to put them in one of those 6 vulnerable positions. And then, as we break down those vulnerable positions over the next 12 weeks, every time you're going to get someone in that position, hopefully you have an idea of where you're going. Does that make sense? So let's just say Carl is inside my close guard. At beginner level, you know, people when I start to teach close guard, they just lock their legs and they'll play the close guard like a holding position, and they don't know what they're doing, and then they're just squeezing and holding the guy, either cobra and stuff. We don't really know what we're doing, and we're really just keeping the guy. First trying to open my knees. Now he's a lot more ability to open my legs when he gets to his feet. Don't get me wrong, you can't really go from the knees, but it's a lot more. So we want to be playing our guard dynamically. We don't want to be in this position and just locking our legs and holding the guy down. We're going to be trying to break his posture. We're going to be trying to off balance. So the first drill that we're going to look at is the knee pull. Okay? It's really basic. About 90% of how you break someone's balance inside close guard will be a knee pull forward. The Kazushi, the off balance, will always be forward breathing down. Now, where my closed guard is locked. It's at the end of the lever. It's around his hips. So when I pull and try to break Carl's posture, a lot of the time I kind of can't break his posture. Okay? Because I'm pulling right at the end of the lever. So Carl's going to put his hands above his head. First drill is, I'm going to lift my hips so my butt's off the mat. That's the first thing. When you're trying to break someone's posture, you don't want to be playing close guard with arch in the mat. You kind of want to pull up a little bit. So I've kind of got an arch in my back. Now I'm going to lift my knees up. So my knees are traveling up towards his armpits here. That makes sense. So now when I pull, I get him down. A lot of people when they're playing close guard, they're trying to pull from this position and Carl engages his hips. And I don't want to be, I can't get him down. The other focus we want to be thinking about is Carl's head positioning. Carl is inside my guard and he says he can make the frames. Anytime his head is above his hips, I am not pulling forward. I'm coming up this way. So we want to be thinking about where his head is. Now, when he starts off in my guard, if he knows jiu-jitsu, his head will be above his hips. So you'll be pulling all that, so you'll be breaking his hips until he comes down. But watch what happens when Carl tries to stand up inside my close guard. His head moves. Okay? Even though he's being really strict and he's doing it all right, at one time when he goes up and down. Okay? So there's three parts to this drill. The first part is Carl's going to put his hands behind his head. I'm going to arch my back, so my back is arched, my arch is off the mat, and I'm going to climb with my knees. Now my guard's still closed. I'm not opening my guard, I'm climbing with my knees, so I'm higher up the lever. And now from there, I can pull and you get Carl down. This is the first part. Second part, when I pull, Carl's making frames on me. He's not actually making grips. I'm going to do the same thing. When he makes frames on me, I'm clearing his frames from the inside, climbing with my legs, breaking them down. The third one is, Carl makes his grips, slightly a lapel grip and control of the belt of the hand, doesn't really matter. And now he's just going to stand up. And when they see his head move, I'm pulling with my legs. You haven't done much jiu-jitsu and you suck at this, hands above your head, just work on this. Okay? Now your partner's going to play with you a little bit. He's not going to keep his head above his hips because we want to be good at this drill. So if Carl's just keeping his head above his hips, I'll be doing this all day. So he's going to, you not get it, then he's going to move his head a little bit forward. And now he's giving you that ability to close. This is all about timing. We want to do this knee pull at the right time. So doing this drill and the next drill is going to get you so much better at getting the person's posture and balance broken so that we eventually put them into these 6 movements. Okay? So the first one is hands above the head, arch my back. Now when I bring my knees up, my back curves and I keep them down. Okay? The second one is Carl's my frames and just clearing them and doing the same thing. And now the third one is, and he knows jiu-jitsu, when he makes that grip, his head's above his hips, but somewhere in the middle, his head will come